My name is Erin, and I'm going to be doing an incredibly low quality video on the accessibility of Oklahoma State University, and just kind of the things I've noticed. Kind of like tell you what's going to go on in this video. I'm going to discuss the things that I've noticed and provide a couple of solutions. And then we will talk about probably one of the biggest problems with accessibility on campus. We'll then go from that into an interview that I did with a disabled student. From there, I'm going to go on a little rabbit trail concerning one of my personal interests, and then we will kind of wrap it all up and talk about it just a tiny bit more. This will be short. To start, some of the things that I've noticed. So, one of the main things I've noticed is my dorm. I live in a suite style dorm, really close to campus, honestly one of the best dorms to be in. However, there's construction going on right outside, and this pertains to what I'm about to say, I promise. So, because of construction, the sidewalks leading directly to my dorm have been closed. My dorm is supposed to be one of the more accessible dorms on campus. We have rooms for disabled students here, and they are usually, at least not to my knowledge, filled with disabled students. This is because the building itself is not accessible. Claims to be, but it isn't. So the issue with my dorm, issues I shall say, number one, sidewalk situation. So our building is shaped like a U with another building shaped like a U on the other side. There's a courtyard going down the middle. Now, the other building, the village, I will not specify which letter, is accessible, and it's honestly quite great for the most part. I'll get to where it falls short later. It has great access. You don't have to go around any sort of extra building or jump any through extra hoops. But you just kind of go in. But from my building, which is directly opposite, there's a lot more difficulty of entering the building. So I mentioned the courtyard. We have 2 emergency doors facing the courtyard. But besides that, to enter the building using the correct door, you have to, if you are physically able, walk through the courtyard, go down the stairs, and then wrap around to the south side of the building where our entrance is. If you are not physically able to go downstairs, you have to walk around the other building all the way to the south side. That's how you enter. Then, inside the building, the hallways are perfect. They're great. But if you can reach the hallway, that is, for those who are potentially a wheelchair user or who struggle with opening doors. You use the automatic door that the building provides when you first walk in, but then you immediately are faced with just a plain old heavy door. So if you are a wheelchair user, good luck. That's kind of what it feels like. I have video evidence of this door, and I could also, I'm sure, find a picture, but
Free Pandora! I will lead you into battle! I will destroy Handsome Jack with my bare hands! I will... Stairs? No!
I'm not quite sure. I don't really know how to edit. So, that's number one. Number two, the ramps aren't great. They are definitely, or they feel like they are definitely on the higher end of the ADA scale whenever it comes to grading. They seem very steep and very narrow. They do not feel like they are wide enough for an ADA compliant building. This becomes an issue. If there is a wheelchair user who needs to get access into a building but doesn't want to have to walk all the way around to the east side, they have to wait until the ramp is clear and then hope that they can make their way up it. One ramp in particular is on the southwest side of the Nancy Randolph Davis building. The ramp is very narrow, and the ramp is very steep. Then you are immediately greeted with the lack of an automatic door. If you wish to enter Nancy Randolph Davis, you can walk around to the east side of the building, or move around to the east side of the building, where there is an automatic door, and then about a 6-foot gap in between the doors, with another automatic button in between. It's just generally inconvenient, and I can see that it could be a struggle to somebody who relies on automatic doors. So, we move into the door issue. This is probably the most notable accessibility issue on campus. I would say a large percentage of the automatic doors consistently malfunction or do not work. First one that comes to mind for me is a door entering the Saratine Center on the north side. This door was broken for almost the entirety of my first semester, a semester when it was very convenient to use. Convenient, but not necessary. So, the only other options are scattered about the building. The building itself isn't very accessible. For example, if you are attempting to enter the auditorium in the Saratine, you have to go around to the east side of the building, which is right next to a very busy road, and use the automatic door. However, to my knowledge, that door is locked most of the time, unless there is an event. So that poses an issue there. So if a student, it's a lecture hall. If a student needs to get to the lecture hall and the door is locked, they are kind of screwed. And then another one that comes to mind is at Morrill. The accessible door at Morrill opens incredibly slowly, and you have to push the button for it incredibly hard. It shouldn't have to be that way. It's automatic on the other side of the building, like coming out, but going in you have to press the button and pray that it opens. Otherwise you have to go to the other side. The student union has had several issues with their accessible doors. However, they maintain them pretty well, and if something is broken, it'll fix. But yes, I have several stories concerning that. Like at the library, Edmund Lowe, the only accessible entrance is on the north side of the building. And that can be difficult for a physically capable person to get around to if they are feeling down or have an injury. So I can't imagine how inconvenient it could be for somebody who is disabled. I have some video footage of accessible doors here on campus. I was planning on going around to every single one and pressing it, but time ran out and I was planning on doing it at night. That's not very safe. I'm now going to go to the interview portion. I did an interview with a student in my program named Emma. Emma has an invisible disability, but it does affect her. I asked her just about 3 questions, and here's what she had to say. I asked her, have you ever experienced any difficulties navigating OSU's campus? It could be with doors, ramps, etc. She responded, I think structurally they do well with having accessible ways inside the buildings, but they're used very frequently and have been taken up by group tours, faculty, equipment, or just high traffic flow. I am then forced to wait, and it's made me late often, or use the stairs and there's no safe place for me to rest as I will pass out if my heart rate gets too high. My biggest difficulty is having good parking, as there are few and oftentimes taken by people without a placard. I then asked her, is there any way that you think OSU could improve on these issues? And she said, personally, I think there could be more enforcement through handicap parking throughout the school day. I also think if there was more awareness of what disabled individuals face with normal tasks would help a lot of others to understand why accessibility tools are there. And then I asked her if there was anything that she wanted me to cover in the essay. She said, I don't think I have anything too specific, maybe the awareness part. So My disabled friend Emma believes that one of the better ways that OSU could improve upon their whole accessibility campaign is to educate people on why the measures for accessibility are taken in the first place and what kind of difference it can make to a student who struggles. Now for my little rabbit trail. Emma and I are both interior design students. One of my biggest goals as an interior design student is to educate people on how you do not have to sacrifice beauty for functionality in accessible homes. Recently, my parents stayed at the hotel on Oklahoma State University's campus, the Atherton. This is a very beautiful hotel and incredibly accessible. I'll be displaying some pictures here, just kind of showing you some of the accessibility things that they have, but most notably are the handholds in the bathroom. The handholds are very well done. They have little embellishments on them that make them look more in place in this bathroom than it would otherwise. It doesn't have to be a sterile, plain stainless steel rod sticking out of the wall. It can look more like a towel holder, but just a little thicker. So that's just something that's really important to me. And there are measures being taken to help with this. There is an interior architect who designs accessible, beautiful homes, and I've seen them before. Accessibility and functionality going hand in hand as a challenge to make it more common. And I'll be linking an Architectural Digest article below that talks a little bit more about this, but there are some designers who genuinely see it as a challenge and are taking it on to make more accessible, beautiful homes. Something else that I'd like to mention, I read a hearing. It was just a revision on the original ADA Act. The hearing was done to provide defendants with a warning whenever they had broken ADA compliances. I think that's incredibly that was incredibly good to put into place so that those who are not within ADA codes can adjust themselves to be. Then only if they don't correct the mistakes, they'll be fined. It was a common sense revision. I don't know why I was there in the first place, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that they put it into place. This is so that people who get warnings can actually correct their mistakes. And I was hoping that maybe with a little bit more research, I could try to get somebody to come take a look at some of the ramps or the door situation here on Oklahoma State University's campus so that they can get a warning. So then this is a paper written, it was a graduate paper. It's titled ADA Compliance, What Are We Doing? It's a paper written concerning ADA compliance with libraries in the state of Ohio. It's a peer-reviewed study. The paper was written by Albert Scheiman, who worked at Medina County Library. The paper is a master research done by Scheiman. The paper covers a few different bases. He shows his reviews of ADA standards in 1994. He then explains his method of grading each of the libraries on their ADA compliance. He then lists the results. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Again, that's going to be linked below. Everything that I mentioned right here is going to be kind of linked. And then just out of curiosity, I wondered, what are a public or private college university's responsibilities with students with disabilities? That's also the title of the article. It's done by the ADA National Network. It specifically covers colleges, both private and public. It's short, sweet, only being a paragraph long, and I am going to be reading it. If I can get it pulled up. The article says, and I quote, "Both public and private colleges and universities must provide equal access to post-secondary education for students with disabilities. Title II of the ADA covers publicly funded universities, community college, and vocational schools. Title III of the ADA covers privately funded schools. All public or private schools that receive federal funding are required under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act to make their programs accessible to students with disabilities. All of the programs of post-secondary institutions, including extracurricular activities, must be accessible to students with disabilities. The school can do this in several ways: by providing architectural access to buildings, including residential facilities, by providing aids and services necessary for effective communication, like sign language interpreters, braille or electronic formats, and assistive listening devices, and by modifying policies, practices, and procedures, such as testing accommodations and access to school facilities for service animals. Accommodations and program modifications should be individually designed to meet the needs of a student with a disability. I included this because I thought it was important to show that, it was made. The ADA Act was made with people in mind, and that colleges in general do have requirements that they need to meet. And though I am certain that OSU does all that they can to meet these requirements, I feel like in certain situations, residentially, and in some of the buildings on campus, they could improve. Thank you for making it this far with me in the video. I think this is where I'm going to call it. It's kind of be short and sweet. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about Oklahoma State University and accessibility. I feel like beauty and function can go hand in hand. I am very grateful for Emma for letting me interview her for this project, and I hope you enjoyed my little video blurbs with the door. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a good one. Bye!